right, welcome aboard. It is Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja, where we give you an audiovisual radio experience that you can count on anytime, any day. And yes, apologies again for not beginning on the clock of the hour, but then this discourse promises to look into matters that bother you and I, bother our children, especially talking about the students that we have in our various tertiary institutions, not the private institutions, by the way, but the public, tertiary institutions in Nigeria. And this is where we talk politics and current affairs. And we also do this talk because we want to help build whatever facet, whatever sector has been brought upon this platform on here, grow it into what it should be, take it away from the cankerworms that might be infesting on it, and build it into a place of investment where capacity building will be the very mantra of the discourse. And we will also look at the place of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, where they have given the federal government a 21-day ultimatum to address their unmet demands, some of them including the renegotiation of the 2009 federal government ASUU agreement. Another would be the payment of withheld salaries and promotion arrears, right? So the union's lawyer advised following due process as stated in the labor laws to avoid another illegal strike declaration. In response, the Federal Ministry of Education has commenced dialogue with ASUU to address their outstanding demands. The government is also acknowledging the concerns of ASUU, and the government has expressed, commitment to resolving, some of these issues. Well, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has embroiled in a decade-long struggle, with the government overfunding, autonomy, as well as welfare. The current impasse revolves around ASUU's demands for an emergency revitalization fund, an outstanding earned academic allowances release, again, of withheld salaries, promotion arrears, and stoppage of, illegal recruitment. Some of the stakeholders at the place would have been the professor of Emmanuel Sodeke, of course, ASUU president. One of the statements he made is, we are giving the government a 21-day ultimatum to address our demands, or we will take further action. And we also saw the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, professor. These are two professors, so it's very poignant to look into it. Professors, okay. So Professor Tahir Maman, Minister of Education, saying, the ministry is working on it. And Nigerians are saying that we would only align with the fact that these people are elites. They're elitist. These two people, these two heads, they're elitist, and they should be able to understand the position of education, how important education is, in the system or in a country, what the power education has to reform, to inform, to energize, to rework, to build capacity, to bring all that seemed dead to become alive, to bring some newness and freshness to a society, such that there will be people who are only forward thinkers and not backward thinkers. But then, have we seen that as a reality? Well, the spokesperson for the Federal Ministry of Education, Folashade Beriowo, says the government is committed to addressing ASUU's demands. Right? We keep hearing the government is committed to addressing ASUU's demands, but there are some concerns that have remained salient for quite a number of time. Very critical, you might add. And if you also recall, 5 years on, I think, we have seen the Minister of Labor and is it Productivity now, the former minister then, right? I can't wrap my head around this name now, but then he had come out, to truncating the efforts, between the ASUU and the federal government, and they keep having this conversation. 5 years, before now, we're still here. We're still having this discourse. We're still talking about the same thing, talking about funding for the education sector, talking about, allowing for allowances to be given, talking about, some of the demands, or one of such would be lecturers or the university saying they want their own payment, system, the UTAS, right? But the government is saying, no, you've got to be on the IPPIS. And that has also been yet another concern. Right? But funding has been one. Of course, autonomy has been another one, very distinctly. Welfare has also been yet another one, in this regard. But have all of these falling to deaf ears? Or is it ASUU that is failing in its bid to reach out to the government and to ensuring that things are done rightly? Maybe ASUU has not been following the due process, as some stakeholders are saying, but ASUU at this point in time is saying that, okay, maybe we've been also fingered as not be doing the right thing, as given counsel by their lawyer. They've decided to give a 21-day ultimatum to the federal government. So that's about builds the discourse this morning. But there is also one very fundamental concern. And as a parent, you will understand how deeply this concern runs. And that would be the place of, if or should, not what we are praying for, but should the federal government not come into discourse with ASUU within the stipulated 21 days ultimatum, and ASUU indeed goes on a strike, what will become of our children who are in schools? What will become of expectations? That's one. Secondly, the place of the student's loan that we have seen, by the way, come to bear, which we should ring a bell for. That's right. Which has been lauded to this administration, the Tinubu-led administration. I mean, other administrations that tried to put it up together. Jonathan was one of such who tried to bring it all together. Tinubu, the former President Buhari also tried, but it was truncated. But the Tinubu administration decisively tried the first attempt, and they noticed one or two discrepancies. They took it back into the drawing board, and they fixed it. Maybe not 100%, but at least we have something we're working with. What will become of it? Will the student loan also cater for our children should they return home? Well, that would not be something you want to think about. But then I've got our guest, those are the person of Mr. Agaba, Wilson Agaba. He's a business financial consultant, and he's also a public affairs analyst. Is going to be adding his voice in the discourse this morning as we go quite conversational this morning. And might I also give you the number to call? That would be 0908 766 8888. That is the number you would want to save so that we can have that conversation this morning. Once again, the number that you should stick to in terms of voice call would be 0908 766 8888. One last time, 0908 766 8888. Right. So that's it. 4 8s now. Yeah, and then the WhatsApp portal number where you can send a WhatsApp message alone. No calls, no voice notes. Just send a message and go straight to the point would be 0909 705 4450. I make welcome to you, Mr. Agaba, Wilson Agaba. Good morning and welcome on the show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Exactly. It feels good to have you indeed, but let's just jump straight into it. I mean, we've seen the back and forth that's been going on, with the federal government and ASUU. In fact, ASUU is the one initiating this call, especially at a time like this. And they've called out to the federal government and saying that, look, we're giving you a 21-day ultimatum to look into our needs. We are still talking about the 2009 negotiations. And stakeholders and the Nigerian listening to me now, a family member listening to me now, would be as though, what is this? Since 2009, we've not been able to come through with an agreement or a negotiations regarding the education sector. And yet, every now and then, we cry about brain drain. We cry about people leaving the shores of Nigeria, seeking educational prospects outside the shores of Nigeria. Might I also add that the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has been indeed over time at loggerheads with the federal government. So this is an historical context now, right? Over various demands, Now, do you think that the problem or the challenge, let me call it a challenge, that is going on between or in the education sector is unsolvable or insolvable?
You see, one thing I have continued to say is sincerity of purpose, vision, and political will. These are the three things that are lacking in every facet of Nigeria's life. And that is what results into all the inconsistencies, inconveniences, and the challenges and whatnot that you see today. What is our educational goal? If you look at the Nigerian policy on education, you will see that it has never really straightened out anything spectacular about the future of the Nigeria as a state. I have continued to ask this question: what is the actual role of education in our national life? Why do we have educational institutions? What are they supposed to deliver? If we are aware of the true function of education and educational institution in the society, then we can take the institution seriously. Among all the other things that education does, it provides the labor that is required to run an economy. So whether it's going to be manufacturing, educational institution is supposed to provide those who have expertise to manufacture different kinds of goods, to manage businesses, people who can conduct research, come up with better ways of doing things more effectively and efficiently. If we are talking of government policies, the educational institutions are supposed to generate these policies via the research they conduct. And they are supposed to produce the people who will continue to improve on this research and all of that. So if you look at the function of the educational institution, it also molds the morale of the country. But if you take a look, because we don't value the educational institutions and the system completely, it has degenerated to what it is today. Even the moral fabric of the system itself has degenerated. Things like examination malpractices, paper qualification, emphasis on paper qualification and all of that, it has removed anything about ethics in the area of education. It is as a result of total negligence by administration after administration after administration. Why are we still talking about 2009 agreement in 2024? When other SENA climes are turning to knowledge economy, we are still here grappling with the very basics of manufacturing economy. This is because we haven't given education the right place. Education is where you fashion out the equipment to move the country forward. Now, what has been happening is that I am going to hold both the leadership of ASUU and the successive government heads responsible for this. I'm going to blame all of them. Now, here is my reason. Government in the past will agree to demands by ASUU, knowing fully well they are incapable of keeping to those demands. ASUU also will make demands that they are fully aware that all things being equal, the government cannot meet those demands. I once spoke with a lecturer friend who was saying if senators who all they require to do their work is a primary school certificate are earning 29 million, 14 million and all of that, why should they be paying a university professor 400,000? I agree with you that shouldn't be. But while we are fighting for that not to be, let us not also ground the institution further. Let us also ask for things that are, things that are feasible within range that can be done. And I also advised over time that ASUU should look more on having control of what they can generate, because the educational institution itself is a business environment. You imagine you have 10,000 students in your campus, 5,000 students in your campus. It's a large business. And you can use